we said natural selection is a mechanism of evolution whereby organisms with favorable characteristics survive and reproduce more offspring to the next generation, while those ones with unfavorable characteristics are selected against and the population become extinct. That is what we said natural selection. Indeed, we need to look at, and we understood what natural selection is. We said natural selection comes as a result of selection pressure, whereby we said the selection pressure is a particular factor existing in an environment, is a factor existing in an environment, or is a particular factor existing in a population which determines the survival of an individual. That is what we said natural selection is, my selection pressure. Then we also looked at what is selection, that selection is a process. Therefore, we said the natural selection cannot occur without selection pressure, because it is selection pressure which brings about natural selection. Factors in the environment are the ones which brings about or which determines which individual to survive. And that individual who survives, we said that those individuals with better characteristics. Therefore, they will interbreed. Now, before we continue, or when or on continuation, we need to look at, after looking at types of natural selection and understanding them, we need to look at what we call, we have things which show natural selection in action. Evidences, we can say evidences. Either we can call them evidences of natural selection, evidence of natural selection. Evidence of natural selection. Or sometimes if they don't call them evidence of natural selection, they call it natural selection in action. Things which show that indeed natural selection is in action now, currently. Which things do you base on? Like examples. One of them, we are going to look at what we call polymorphism. Polymorphism. The first evidence of natural selection is polymorphism. The second one is, we are going to look at something else which shows natural selection or evidence of natural selection, which we call industrial melanism. Industrial melanism. 3, we are going to look at what we call drug and pesticide resistance. Then 4, we are going to look at something we call heavy metal tolerance. Those are the 4. These are within our environment. These are the 4 things currently existing within our population, trying to describe, to show that natural selection exists, that there are individuals who are being favored and there are individuals who are being unfavored. The individuals who are being favored are, their population increase because they are able to reproduce. But those ones who are not favored, their population decrease and they go under extinction. Those are some of the things we need to look at. Therefore, polymorphism. We are going to start with the polymorphism. Polymorphism. We are going to start with 1, polymorphism. Someone can tell me what the word poly means. Someone to raise up the hand and tell me what the word poly means. Yes, Pesh?
Poly means many.
Poly means many. That's good. Many. Then someone else to tell me what the word morphism or if you have ever heard of the word which is related with the word morphism, who can tell me the meaning of the word morphism? Who can pick some, who can put a leaf on the word morphism? What does it mean?
So for me, I think morphism means like a evolution or reproduction.
The word morphism, I don't think it's not, it may be related to that, but not correct. When we talk about the word morphism, this word morphism comes from the word amorphous, which means structure, all structural forms, structural forms. Therefore, under polymorphism, we are going to see, we shall find one organism, we shall find one species existing in different forms. It is one species, but it exists in two or more different structural forms. Who can give me an example? I can give you like in man. Are you seeing in man? Human beings, in human beings. We have people like sex. An example is sex. We have people who are male. We are giving examples which can help you to understand the polymorphism. We have people who, and the first example is sex in human beings. We have people who are male and we have people who are females. Therefore, here we have two individuals. We have an organism of the same species, which is human being, but existing in two different forms. Therefore, poly means many, then morphism means structural forms. That you find one species of organisms existing in different forms. Therefore, when we talk about polymorphism, polymorphism is the existence of organisms of the same species, because we know organisms of the same species must be of the same form. They must be of the same form since they are of the same species. But we find that you will find that organisms at a given point, you will find organisms of the same species existing in different forms. Is the existence of organisms of the same species in two or more genetically different forms in a population. Therefore, you find organisms of the same species, that is important, existing in two or more genetically different forms. Morphism, I told you, means different forms, structure forms. Then poly means many, it's this one. Therefore, two or more stands in for poly, for the word poly. Then genetically different forms stands in for the word morphism. Therefore, polymorphism. Therefore, you find organisms of the same species existing in two or more forms. E.g., I can give you an example. Sex. We have males and females. You find organisms of the same species, some are males, others are females. Therefore, that is polymorphism. Another one, I can give you blood group. You find in human beings, we have people of blood group A, we have people of blood group B, people of blood group O, and people of blood group B. These individuals, these human beings are of the same species, all of them. Like most of you, how we are now on this platform. We are all human beings of the same species. But you find some of A, B, among us some are A, B, O, and AB. It means we are organisms of different species. We are organisms of the same species, but having different forms. That is what we call polymorphism. You find organisms of the same species, I can give you an example. Most of you have phones, techno phones. All of them, you may have, I can use an example of a techno phone. But under techno phones, you'll find different types. Common 15, 17, 12, Spark, what, you know those types. You know those types of techno phones. It means techno is the species we are talking about, but we have different organisms under the same species, but of different forms. That is what we call polymorphism. But that one we cannot use it because phones are not living organisms. Another example I can give you is sickle cell. We have individuals who are normal and individuals who are sickle cell. Therefore, having organisms of the same species existing in two or more different forms in a population, that is what we call polymorphism. Now, someone may ask, Master, how does polymorphism show natural selection? Remember, we say this natural selection cannot occur in a population where we have organisms of this, when all of them, there is no variation, when organisms are all the same. When organisms are all the same, natural selection cannot occur. Therefore, in these individuals, natural selection is able to take place. Like here in people of blood groups, you may find people of blood group O have a selective advantage than others. Therefore, natural selection is there. Therefore, polymorphism shows natural selection in action. It means you will find that people of blood group O will increase, their population will be high, and these of AB and AB will decrease because for them they are selected against. They cannot survive within an environment. Therefore, polymorphism is one evidence of evolution. Anyone to ask about polymorphism? A question about polymorphism before I leave it? Waiting. Anyone to ask about polymorphism? I'm waiting for the hand up. If not, I continue.
Sure.
Yes.
When you're talking about species, like, for example, human beings, where we have carriers and then the normal, is that also an example of polymorphism?
Having carriers and normal.
Yes.
Remember,
yes. Is that also an example of polymorphism?
When we talk about a carrier, genetically, when we are talking about polymorphism, we talk about the phenotype, the appearance, the physical appearance. Can you identify the carrier using the physical appearance? A carrier will be exactly the same as normal. It means that one cannot work in polymorphism. Here we shall look at someone who is sick, like sickle cell, and someone who is normal. Here in polymorphism, we don't talk about carriers, genes, the genotype of an individual. We talk mainly about the phenotype. Because you're seeing forms means structure, and structure is a phenotype. It means here we base mainly on a phenotype. In polymorphism, natural selection, we mainly look at about phenotype, not the genotype. All together?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Any other question? Therefore, that is what we refer to as polymorphism. Do we have any question? Therefore, polymorphism, after understanding what is polymorphism, that poly means many, then morphism means different structures, or structure means structure. It means polymorphism, when you bring those words together, is the existence of organisms of the same species in two or more forms in a given population. Like in human beings, you find the sex, males and females. A blood group, you find people of blood group A, B, O, and AB. We shall look at very many examples as we continue, since we are still on its introduction. Now, polymorphism has two types. We have two types of polymorphism. two types of polymorphism. Two types of polymorphism. We have the first type of polymorphism, which we call stable. Or if you don't call it stable, some books will call it balanced. Balanced polymorphism. Balanced polymorphism. Then secondly, we have what we call unstable. If you don't call it unstable, we call it transit polymorphism. We have two types of polymorphism. If you have understood the polymorphism, you must know that we have two types of it: stable and unstable. Stable and unstable. Either stable, you call it balanced, then unstable, we call it transit. You need to know all because they will ask one of them. Now, we are going to start with the stable. Remember, we said the polymorphism, generally, in summary, we say the polymorphism in summary, we said existence, that is the first thing. Two, existence of, we said polymorphism is the existence of an organism of the same species. That is the second thing. In either two or more forms, in two or more different forms. In summary, that is what we call polymorphism. Existence of an organism of the same species in two or more different forms within a population. Now we look at stable. After understanding polymorphism, we look at stable. Examples of stable polymorphism, or what we call balanced. Now I can first use balanced. It will help you to understand, because either we can call it stable or balanced. I'm going to give you I have given you examples of polymorphism. I've given you sex, blood group, sickle cell. We can have snails. Do you know garden snails? Snails. When you look at those snails, they are not the same. Those snails are not the same. We have those ones which are brown, we have those ones which are yellow, we have those ones which are pink, but all of them are snails and of the same species. That is also another example, snails. Then we have peppered moth. Do you know moth? A sister organism to butterflies, moths. You used to start, for them they are nocturnal, they move at night. Those moths, they are also, we call them peppered moth. We are going to see that they are under unstable. Therefore, we have very many examples we have given. We can first list examples or examples of polymorphism we are going to look at. We have what we call snails. We say the snails can, as a snail, we have those ones which are pink, yellow, and brown. It means snails exist in different forms. Then we have another example, sex. We have male, females. We have organisms which are males, and those ones which are females. Three, we have what we call examples of polymorphism, not types, but examples. We are going to put emphasis. We have sickle cell, normal. Under sickle cell, we have individuals who are normal and those ones which are sick. Then we have another examples. We said what? Blood group. Blood group, we have A, B, O, and AB. Therefore, we have examples. We can stop that from there. Okay, we have also said another example. We have peppered moth. Peppered moth. Those are examples of polymorphism. Five, they're the ones mainly we are going to look at. We shall use at this. There are very many, but polymorphism we can use those: snails, sex, sickle cell, blood group, and peppered moth. Those are examples. But those examples, some you'll find they're under one type we call stable, and others are under another type we call unstable. Unstable examples, unstable or balanced examples of polymorphism we are going to look at unstable or balanced as a type of polymorphism. Examples we are going to look at is one, we have blood group. Blood group is unstable blood group. Two, we have a sickle cell. Sickle cell. Three, we have sex. We can go on with those ones. First of all, sex. Those are examples of stable or balanced polymorphism. Now, what is stable? What is stable or balanced polymorphism? This one is the existence. Is the existence, when we are talking about that, is the existence of organisms, is the existence of organisms of the same species, because remember here we are talking about organisms of the same species, in two or more different forms is the existence of organisms of the same species, is the existence of organisms of the same species in two or more different forms altogether, and occur in a fairly constant form. In a fairly constant form. And occurs in a fairly constant form, and members interbreed, interbreed. What do I mean? After understanding polymorphism, you need to know that, why do we call it balanced? Like I can use an example of sex. Sex. Remember, sex we have males. Sex we have males and females. We said balanced polymorphism is the existence of organisms of the same species in two or more different forms and occur in a fairly constant form. In a fairly constant form. A fairly constant form. This is important. Constant form. And occurs in a fairly constant form. What do I mean by fairly constant form? That they are in balance. That males and females are in balance. What do I mean in balance? It means that there is no one which is about these two forms, there is no one which is increasing and one decreasing. All of them are in a fairly constant numbers. That in our population, I want to ask you a question. In our population, do men increase and females decrease, or females increase and males decrease? All of them increase, and they are in a fairly constant level. Yes? According to sex. Are organisms in a fairly constant level, or the males increase and females decrease, or females decrease or males increase?
All increase.
All increase. It means they are in a fairly constant, they are in a fairly constant form. Therefore, they are balancing. They are stable. None is increasing, because remember, under natural selection, we said that under natural selection, one organism increases and another one, under natural selection, that some organisms are favored and others are unfavored. The unfavored will decrease. But here we shall see that all organisms remain in a stable condition or in a stable state form. All of them keep on, none of them is being favored, none of them is being selected against. Therefore, all of them, they are in a stable state. They're in a stable state. That's why it gets its name, stable, balanced. None is increasing and none is decreasing. All of them increase and all of them decrease. When I say none is increasing, when I say none is, okay, none is increasing beyond the other, and another one decreases. That as this one is increasing, the other one decreases. Our height is not there. Under stable. Therefore, all the forms remain in a stable state, in a constant form. We call it a constant form. Another example I can use is blood group. Blood group. When you look at blood group, we have A, O, AB, and B. We have what? When you look at blood group, another example we have said, which is understable, is blood group. When you look at blood group, we have individuals who are A, B, AB, and O. In our population of human beings, we don't have any blood group which is increasing and others are decreasing. We don't have that one which is increasing and others decreasing. All of them are in a fairly constant form. All of them can increase and decrease. All of them can decrease and others increase. Therefore, they are in that fairly state. They keep on increasing, decreasing. All of them in a balanced state. Therefore, that's why we call it balance. The two forms are always in a balance. None of them is increasing rapidly and one decreasing. Therefore, all of them are in a balancing state. That's what we call stable or balanced polymorphism. Is the existence of organisms of the same species in two or more different forms in a population and occur in a fairly constant form. Another thing is sickle cell. Sickle cell, another example of balance. We have people who are sickle celled and those ones which who are normal. Sickle cell and normal, and they remain in that state. If it was that the sickle cell are decreasing, per now we would not have people who are sickle cell. And if we had people who, like here in blood group, if we had one blood group being favored, that for it is increasing and others are decreasing, we would now have only one type of blood group. But all of them are there and they are fairly constant. They're in a fairly constant state. Now, Ndagire is asking about, what about birth weight? Remember, Ndagire, birth weight, we cannot say birth weight is birth weight, we cannot say birth weight. Remember, this one is structural forms, morphism, structural form. Birth weight is not a structure. Here we are talking about polymorphism. Structural existence of an organism. Is birth weight a structural form? It's not a structural form. Therefore, it doesn't have any. It cannot. We cannot talk about birth weight under polymorphism. Birth weight, we talked it under types of natural selection. We talked about it under types of natural selection. Any other question? I'm seeing someone whose hand up. Rogers.
What about body size, like being fat or thin?
Remember, body size is mainly this natural selection. Remember, we said the natural selection mainly bases or mainly acts on or results into discontinuous variation. You remember me well? We said mainly it leads to discontinuous variation, natural selection. Therefore, any character where we don't have, remember, height or body size you're talking about is continuous variation. We don't have two distinct forms, that we have people who are fat and we have people who are very small. In between, there is no intermediates. That one it does not. That one is continuous. Here we deal only with the discontinuous, where we have distinct forms. Either this person is male or female. Because if it is continuous, you cannot carry out a study on it. You cannot carry a study on it by looking at polymorphism. Yeah, eye color. Eye color can be an example of polymorphism. We have to be things. Yeah, people who are pink and those who have white eyes and so on. We can talk about that. But anything which is continuous or which is continuous with continuous variation, we cannot talk about it under polymorphism, under natural selection. Most of them go around or move around with the discontinuous variation, because discontinuous variation is the one which will bring about two distinct forms, two or many distinct forms. Either you are this side or this side, causing the environment to select against you, to select for you. But like size may not work here under polymorphism, because it is a form of continuous variation. Another thing, okay, that is balanced, all stable. Have you understood it? What we call balanced. Therefore, under balanced, we have what we call consistency in the forms of an organism. We have consistency. Like females and males, they are always in a consistent number. None is increasing and one decreasing. It is not there. Therefore, we continue. Then we go to what we call unstable. Unstable, or you can call it transit. Unstable is a form of polymorphism whereby here we shall say is the existence, or is the form of polymorphism whereby organism exists. Existence of organisms of the same species in two or more forms, two or more different, you can say two or more different forms, with one form increasing in number, while one form decreasing in number. Each an example I can give you is peppered moth. Here we are going to use an example of peppered moth. We have two types of peppered moth. The gray, or you'll find some books calling it light, or you'll find some books calling it, we shall call it gray, light, or non-melanic. Non-melanic, it means it doesn't have melanin. Therefore, it is gray. Or you'll find some books calling it white. They will say gray, non-melanic, white, or light. Then we have another form of peppered moth, which we call melanic. It means it is dark or dark. Those are the two types of moths we have. In this case, we are going to look at an example which existed in England or in London, in England, in the 1960s. We are going to explain it under industrial melanism. That in this case, you will find one peppered moth increasing and another decreasing, because one will be more adapted to survive, to avoid predators in a population. Therefore, like an example, you can find when the melanic, the gray one, it will depend on the environment where they're surviving. Like when we go in an environment which is whereby the environment is clean, the gray one will be selected for, because it will be able to camouflage on the trees. But when we go in areas where we have industries, a lot of industries, remember when in industries produce smoke, and when they produce smoke, most tree barks become dark. It means the gray peppered moth can no longer camouflage. It will easily be identified because remember the background now has been painted black due to the soot or the smoke from industries. It means the gray one will no longer be favored because it will be easily predated on. It can no longer camouflage. Now the darker one will be selected for because the tree barks where these moths will always habit or will always live, stay, will be dark due to the smoke deposited there. It means for them they cannot easily be, they will camouflage, they cannot easily be seen by the birds to eat them. It means for them they will be selected for. They will reproduce and increase in number. While these ones, the gray ones, since the backs of the tree have been painted black, whenever it stands there, because it is white and the background is black, it can easily be seen. It cannot camouflage. Now it will be selected against. Therefore, one form will increase and one form will decrease. They will not have a stable state. They will not exist in one stable state altogether. That is what we call unstable polymorphism. Existence of an organism of the same species in two or more forms, whereby one form is increasing in number while one form is decreasing in number. But under stable, when we are looking at what? When we are looking at the other one of stable, we said all the forms remain in a constant form. None is increasing, none is decreasing. All of them can survive together within the environment. Are we together? Can you distinguish between unstable and stable polymorphism? Therefore, under stable, we have constant form of the different forms of the same species. Constant.